Hello, good evening, welcome. This is Hot Addiction. We're live on News about Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice.
This evening, here on Hot Addiction, government reels under intense pressure to address worsening power crisis amid calls for the removal of the Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh.
Tonight, we hear from the senior presidential advisor who says it should be possible to release a load management schedule.
Also this evening, senior presidential advisor Yelsa Fomafo rekindles debate on the opaque nature of Ghana's asset declaration regime and urges a review to make it transparent. We have details of this plus the latest in business, sport and entertainment coming up over the next 1 hour, 30 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook at 3FM 927. Also on X, you can interact with us at 3FM 927. And as always, live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Grace Hamwa Ajiman is here with a summary of the news. Grace?
Hi, Alfred. Let's get right into it. And senior presidential advisor Yelsa Fomafo is advocating a review of the asset declaration regime for officials in the country. He argues that the current system where officials declare assets tucked away with the Auditor General is not transparent, indicating that this must change. He was speaking at a forum on open government partnerships and construction sector transparency in Accra. Away from that, President Akrofi has directed boards and heads of state entities to ensure strict compliance with submission requirements set out by the State Interest and Governance Authority on state reports, and the caution has become necessary due to delays in the preparation and publication of state ownership reports, which allow the government and the general public to assess information and the performance of public enterprises. And leadership of the onion traders at Kwadaso, who were relocated to Achuma Techiman, have indicated their unwillingness to occupy the new market. Their reason, the new place is small to contain them, and also the fear of facing eviction again after some years. They would rather find a land to buy and restart their trading activities devoid of any future rejection. That's it for the summary, Alfred.
Grace, appreciate you. Thank you so much. And this morning is on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. Dumso never goes away because the lights are going off. People still sleeping in darkness and businesses reeling under the impact of this unannounced power outages. Beatrice.
Indeed, and that's where there are growing calls for the president to sack his energy minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, over the worsening power situation in the country. This comes as customers lament the unbearable power outages, which are not only making lives difficult, but also threatening the survival of businesses. Experts say that Ghana is currently shedding about 500 megawatts of power, blamed on lack of funds to purchase fuel to the generating plants. The situation has prompted calls for citizen mobilization to register protests over the crisis. The turf war between the main power distributor, the Electricity Company of Ghana, the Ghana Grid Company, and the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PRC, has also not helped matters, with citizens waiting for a load management schedule to enable them plan their lives. Now, some of you have been sharing your frustrations with us. Let's first listen to power consumers in Koforidua in the Eastern region. We'll bring you that, but in the Upper East region, the story does not seem so different.
We're having a light issue for our side. Off and on, off and on. Like this side day, I've been buying engine, like 4 engine. I change 4 engine, and they be off and on, spoil the old one, what I bought. So last week, off and on, off and on, off and on light. They are affecting us for this work, plenty.
This week and last week, we are writing our end of semester exam, and the power outage is something that is disturbing our studies. We are not able to study in the night, and then considering the weather too is very hot, you are not able to sleep in the night.
Navongo is a very hot town. Yep. It's a very hot town, so as a result of that, the power outage is affecting us a lot, very much. Sometimes we go to class to have lectures all of a sudden the lights goes off. We can't even study because of that.
This current generation, we are using technology equipment as our learning tools, such as computers and phones. And these devices, we use electricity. And as they off and on power, it's affecting us. Sometimes you will be needed to go and study, but your phone will be off.
Me ton stone nema. Uso fridge adum. Obi beton suya. We man na cement to. She because light no. Obi ton ade wa ha bresa kokoda. Ya dum kania.
And you heard some of you from the Upper East region. Well, the situation is not different in Accra, and as you might have heard us earlier, some citizens have planned to hit the streets on the current power situation. Well, a governance expert, Professor Bafo Ajimandia, believes that the president needs to show leadership by calling the power sector players to order. He also says that the government hasn't shown seriousness in dealing with the problem head-on.
The general impression I get is that the country is facing a tough time, and that government has not been too active to seeking a solution to this, especially during the recent times when there seemed to have been some very strange conflict between and amongst the various energy players, GridCo and the Electricity Corporation of Ghana and PERC and all that. So it's strange. And that's why I think that the general in this situation, the general commanding all these agencies that I mentioned, is the president. I'm even surprised, maybe he's done it privately. I'm surprised, I'll be surprised the president hasn't called the leadership of these agencies I mentioned, ECG, PURC, GridCo, and the others together to really sit them down to give them the marching order that, look, I don't like what you guys are doing with this country. You see, that is leadership. We need a president to be giving the marching order. So far, as I say, if he has done it privately, I don't know. But based on the public pronouncements by these agencies, these state agencies in charge of the energy sector, it seems like he hasn't done that. And it's just sad that we can sit by for agencies that have been entrusted with the destiny of this country, so far as the power supply is concerned, can be playing these kinds of childish games to Ghanaians. And I think that's why a lot of people are getting upset with the way this whole crisis is being managed.
You just had the governance expert, Professor Bafo Ajimandia, but let's remind you of what the energy minister said, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, when he asked power consumers calling for a load management schedule to release your own timetable.
I promised you that we are going to work on it. And it's not a work that is a single event. It's a process. And we'll continue to work on it for the energy sector to become better.
Have you heard of calls for a timetable?
Ask those who want to bring it. They should bring the timetable. If there is, I haven't seen any timetable. So
but people are calling for it.
Say bring a timetable. What do you mean?
You heard Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh in that interaction with journalists earlier, Alfred.
Indeed, and this is one thing that we're staying this theme on, because it's not just individuals. We're talking about businesses that have been affected heavily. The senior presidential advisor is also waiting in. Yao Safomafo is saying publishing a timetable for the ongoing rationalization of power is an act that can be carried out. This is contrary to the position of the likes of Kojopoko, who says that it's going to be difficult issuing a timetable, because of what's happening.
Yeah.
He says it's more of a localized force, which we've been asking for explanation what that localized force really means. But Yasofumafo has been describing the power outages currently as temporary. He says, and is insisting, that the country had more than the required installed electricity production capacity acquired through multiple power purchasing agreements. He spoke earlier to journalists on the sidelines of an event today. Take a listen.
The call generally is to Minister of Energy to publish the rationalization of the power. Nobody can do it except the Minister of Energy. You get my point, because they've seen the generation and they are looking at the utilization. So they can have one and say that in this particular area, this is how it should be. In that particular area, that how it should be. But it's something which can be done. Because what you have and what you have to use, and then the spread. Because the power is being generated at certain quarters, it has to be distributed throughout the whole country. At the moment, power purchase is not a problem in the sense that we have extra capacity. Nobody is going to purchase power any longer in the sense that now that we have this gas plant, the Ghana gas industry, and we are converting, so we certainly moving as a country from liquid fuel to gas. And that should be the direction. Now, if we have sufficient gas, there won't be anything like power purchase agreement. We've signed a number, and literally we are paying for overcapacity, which we are paying for sometimes without utilizing it. That is what we have. So we have the Minister of Finance spending a lot of time negotiating with providers of this power. If we were to pay for what we use, the story will be different. But we are paying for what is produced. Certainly temporary. And the capacity to produce is there. You need certain inputs. You either need fuel or gas, and you must pay for both. So it's not a question that you don't have the generation. You have it, but it's the utilization.
So that was a senior presidential advisor there, Yao Safo-Mafo. We'll be bringing you analysis on this very shortly. But let's bring you a statement that came in some minutes ago from the Electricity Company of Ghana. Yesterday, most of you told us that indeed you had light out. A number of people slept in darkness. The ECG seems to have some explanation to what happened last night. And I'll read through that statement for you. It's titled Power Outage Due to Heavy Rainstorm. And it says that the Electricity Company of Ghana Limited wishes to inform our cherished customers in the Greater Accra region that the heavy rainstorm experienced today, Tuesday, so that also, it seems, is responding to blackouts even today. So that's beyond yesterday.
They're actually telling you that the lights are going to go off today, or they've started going off because of the rainstorm. Which so now it's not about,
because yesterday rained a bit. So
absolutely,
yes.
So it's not about the doomsday due to the financial situation and the lack of fuel, or this maintenance that some of these plants are going through. Now it's because of the rainstorm.
Okay.
That's the next.
So let me finish.
For the doomsday.
Let me finish that statement. It says that, so I'll just, in the Greater Accra region today, experienced today, Tuesday, 23rd of April 2024, has caused outages within the distribution network. Customers should please note that our engineers are working assiduously to restore power supply to affected customers. And then the ECG gives a number that you can call and is apologizing for any inconvenience caused. Alfred, so that's just portions of that statement issued today because of the rainstorm in the morning.
But guess what? Dr. Rashid Papo has been listening to you and then myself talking. He's a member of Parliament for the Wa Central constituency. He's a member of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. And I appreciate your time. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you so much, my brother.
I mean, so we have another layer of explanation for power outages being experienced and yet to be experienced. ECG is saying that even this rainstorm that we just experienced in the Greater Accra region is going to aggravate the already precarious situation. I mean, how does this strike you?
It's so absurd. And I just think that Ghanaians should have their eyes open wide now, that this is not a government to be taken serious when pronouncements such as this are made. We are told that the generators are spoiled in some places, and because of that, the lights go off. We are told that there's a maintenance schedule, and so because of the lights are going off, now they are saying, oh, it rained, and because of the rain, lights. How many times has it rained in Ghana, and we've always and consistently have lights on? I mean, it's absurd, and I think that we shouldn't be called fools. Anybody listening to us from another country would just say, how cheap are these people? How can such things be the reasons why you can't have lives, and the people understand them with these kinds of explanations? Let's agree. You have a problem. Admit to it. We have given you power. We have voted for you. You are running into serious crisis in power supply. Yes, admit it. Go out, explain the technical reasons why you're having the problems. Doomsday can happen for every reason, but it is called doomsday. If it is happening because you are doing technical work and it is doing so, if it is happening because your generators have spoiled you, it means you have not been doing maintenance, and so you are taken, by surprise. It is called doom so. If it is because of inefficiency and and failure to manage, it is doom so. If it is because of poor governance, which is what is the major reason, and you are having this experience, it is called doom so. Doom so means lights off and lights on. So why are they not admitting to it? I was very sympathetic to Gridco when they had to explain that sometimes they had to cut off the light themselves, because if they don't do, the whole system will break down and we will have a bigger problem. Electricity Corporation is insisting they don't want to do it, not because they believe that they don't need to do it, but because there is a bigger power imposed on them, giving them a feeling that if they do it, it will be a negation to government and its policy and its image. That's why it's annoying. We've had a meeting with from the Energy Committee with the ECG. ECG cannot tell us that any major reason why they can't do it. They said, no, we had a conversation with the president. We can't reveal the reason why we can't keep the lights on. And so when my good friend, the professor, was explaining and saying the president has to tell them, the thing is in the heart of the president. He knows what is happening. In fact, let me tell you that even the Minister of Energy doesn't have control in that ministry about lights on and off. He's out of control. It's in the heart of the president. And you know who is managing the electricity department. It is not NAPO. It is somebody outside NAPO and a system outside NAPO. And they are imposing all these challenges on us. And NAPO is simply just being careful not to say that I'm not in charge. It will be a bigger problem to him if he's the Minister for Energy and he's not in charge. But that is the real proof, the real reason. So I think that it's out of disrespect for Ghanaians, for us voting for people to take charge of our lives. There's a problem such as this. They cannot admit to it, and they cannot even tell us when the lights will go off and on. This thing about rain is just so demeaning. It's unacceptable. It's so, I don't know how to describe it, but it is as if you are speaking to people who don't know what they are about. So I think that it's unacceptable. We don't accept that explanation. We shouldn't accept that explanation, and it is unacceptable for us to suffer the way we are suffering because of the inefficiency of people and their lack of acceptance and responsibility for what is happening.
I see. Now, you refer to a meeting that the committee, had with the operators within the sector, the Gridco, VRA, and then also ECG. After that meeting, your chairman, Samuel Atachia, indicated that you had instructed ECG, I'm talking about the Mines Energy Committee, had instructed ECG to issue a timetable very soon. And this meeting was 3 weeks ago. Till today, we don't have a timetable, a load shedding timetable from ECG. So how soon is very soon, per your definition? That is, if you do know what your chairman was talking about.
The chairman was very objective in telling you what he instructed on behalf of the committee, that there must be a timetable and that we want to see Ghanaians have time, space and time as to when their lights will be on and when it will be off. And that was given to them. Somebody or some people think that they are bigger than the chairman, and chairman and the committee cannot give that instruction and cannot give that directive. And so they keep to the old order. So I think that's why, somewhere when I was talking, I said, look, Ghanaians should not just wait to hear from MPs and say they are MPs, or we will wait when we are suffering, we wait until the MPs talk. No. If you feel the pinch, tell them that you have felt the pinch. Do your own protest. We are all part of the system. We all are guidance of the governance structure we put in place. We all pay debts when we owe money to the electricity company, the supply of power. We all pay our taxes. And so we have the responsibility to tell government when we are unhappy, that we are unhappy. If you just sit down and say, look, somebody has to talk for us, it shows that we are not feeling the pinch. The public must demonstrate anger, frustration towards the government and press them to do the right thing. And I like it when the gentleman who was contributing to your station said that it's not just about the fact that we want to have doom saw or we want a timetable. No, it's not a timetable we are looking for. We shouldn't be condescending to that point. We want our power on. That's the basic. That's the fundamental requirement. If you say you want you want a timetable, that threshold is too low because we have paid not for a timetable. We have paid for power, consistent power supply. So we gave our directive, our suggestion to them to give timetable. They have refused to take it. And when we ask them why they have refused to take it, they cannot explain. They said the issues that are there, they can't say them in public. That is the major problem we are facing. I'm sure, I'm just telling you, this is the first time I'm mentioning it, but it's the truth.
Well, they said that the issues that are there, they can't say it in public. What is happening?
Yeah, the person who was speaking said, no, these things, when you converse with the president, you can't say them in public. So that's why I feel that, and beyond the fact that, look, who is in charge of electricity management in Ghana? It's not NAPO. It is somebody very related to the president.
Who is this person?
I don't know his name, but I suspect I know the situation. So if you get NAPO and he won't say it in public. But if you converse with him in private, he will tell you he's not in charge. I haven't conversed with him privately to hear this, but I've heard it and I know it from sources very close to the president. That
somebody beyond the energy minister is
not beyond, somebody other than.
Somebody other than the energy minister is the one. So
some people who are managing or who claim to be managing the energy supply and requirements of this country are different from the minister and what he does. And so if you want to blame the minister, you have to blame them as well. And because they are very close to government, you cannot blame ECG. I hate it when people are blaming just ECG. No, ECG is the actions of ECG as a resultant of the behavior and conduct of government. And government is no more than the president.
Mr. Popo, you're painting a very multifaceted problem picture for us here. To what extent really can the Energy Committee in Parliament play a role in correcting this you talk about? You're accusing or you're making claims of somebody other than the Energy Minister being in charge of affairs and probably contributing to, should I say, the mess we find ourselves in. But obviously the committee in Parliament has a role. To what extent can you influence things to change?
You see, the nature of the committee is that if you want to tackle policy, you tackle it from the ministry. You don't tackle policy from a subsidiary. So we supervise and provide oversight of a minister because he comes forward to present a budget to us and we approve the budget. How he spends it is our concern. The result of the expenditure is our concern. If there's quality service to the people, it's our concern. If there's no quality service, it's our concern. So you don't go digging and say, look, I want to know, I want to cross-check. And you can do the cross-checking, but the minister takes responsibility. That's why I cannot just say it's not NAPO. It is NAPO. Because if he cannot say it publicly that he's undercut by the behavior of some other people, nobody can say that for him. So he takes responsibility.
See, no, Rashid Pepper, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for this information. I mean, and also what you have indicated to us exclusively, that it is indeed the case that the persons who appeared before the committee did indicate that there's more to it than meets the eye. That's why probably we're having all of this silence. Nobody is talking and the consumers are rather suffering. This is certainly unacceptable. But thank you so much for this information. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is the Dr. Rashid Purple there, and we have also...
Yes, we do have on the line with us Nana Mwese the 7th. He's Executive Director of IES. Good evening to you, Nana, if you can hear us. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so we seem to have lost Nana Mwese there, but he'll be joining us shortly to also give us his perspective. We've heard Yao Safo-Mafo tell us what he thinks is possible in terms of resolving this issue. We've heard from you telling us about the impact of the erratic power supply, as it were, on your businesses, even personal life. You've been sharing with us, and we just heard the minority ranking member on the Energy Committee of Parliament, Rashid Purple, giving us his perspective and making some claims that indeed we'll try and confirm subsequently. Good evening to you, Nana Mwese, if you can hear us. Thank you so much for joining us on Hot Edition.
Good evening, thanks for having me.
We've been following this story to this point, and indeed now we are at a place where there seems to be calls for the sack of the energy minister. Is it fair? And I'm asking this question, putting it in the perspective of the fact that there is a regulatory commission, PRC, that is in charge of the ECG, and this PRC is under the presidency. And the energy minister, you could say, is a political appointee who is there to implement the policies that come from the presidency or the seat of government. Is it fair to call for his sack?
Good evening to you once again, Beatrice. May I ask you a question? Who steers affairs in the energy ministry, Beatrice?
The answer is very obvious.
Good. And so why would you direct your attention to PRC? Why will you direct your attention to the president? The president is only one person. And so he has to delegate responsibilities, and it's fairly shared. And fortunately, Mr. Napo had to come and take over the affairs of the energy ministry. And so things are not going well. Who should we blame? I heard the other speaker, and I'm sure I don't know whether I was trying to speculate that other people with higher, at higher levels are rather managing the sector. Does it have to do with the fuel supply? Was he referring to Mr. Bomti?
He was basically saying that the energy minister is there occupying the seat of the energy minister, but not necessarily the one in charge of do this or don't do this.
Okay, so now we're getting an indication that the energy minister is not in charge of the energy ministry, but somebody else is in charge.
That's what Rashid Purple is claiming.
Sure. But for us, we know that he is the minister. And you were asking whether the call for his resignation or sack is justified. Yes. Given the escalating crisis and its own apparent failure to provide necessary leadership to address the challenges of the crisis, he must go. Beatrice, at the crucial times like this, you will need effective leadership. And if the minister is unable or unwilling to tackle the issues, it may be necessary for him to step down or be relieved of his post to allow for a more capable leadership to come into this equation. We're at a point where national or government utilities are rather fighting each other publicly. A banter between the PRC and UCG, a banter between the UCG and GRICO. It has never happened before. You find that there is no concerted effort to address the issues. There is no coordination here to address the issue. And you get a whole minister go and back one person or one entity, the UCG, and say, don't provide a timetable. And why would I say that he said that? Because he looked right into our face and out of disrespect told us that you, Beatrice, you, Mr. Ocansey, Nanamwesi, PRC, why are you wishing the country evil by asking for a load shedding timetable? Go and provide one for yourself. That strengthens and emboldens ECG not to provide a timetable. So to the point that the minister is downplaying the severity of the crisis and not taking proactive steps to address the challenges, we think that he must go.
Obviously, that's a comment that has attracted backlash from all over, and people even saying that the minister is insulting Ghanaians with his answer. But we've had other analysts like Kwame Janta, who is also a lawyer. We've had Professor Bafo Ajimandria, who seemed to suggest in previous interviews that and I'm referring just kind of indirectly going back to the first question about the need for the presidency. They seem, per the argument, they seem to suggest that this issue may be beyond the energy minister, and it is time for the president, who is the head of the government, as it were, to call even PRC, ECG, GridCo, all these feuding factions together and ensure that there is some sort of direction, to solving this problem.
We've gotten to this point before. Beatrice and a whole minister stood up to resolve the issue. And in fact, he puts his position on the line and say, if I'm not able to resolve it within this period, I move out of office. And he was sacked. I'm sure that this is history that can guide us and inform another minister about the way he goes about these things. If now the issues are beyond the minister, then what is the need or the use of the minister?
Back to the first question about... Please go ahead with your point.
What is the use of the minister? The least the minister can do is to ensure that there's coordination and cooperation among the utilities. The state ones, the regulatory, oversight, PRC, exercise, and he must ensure that they do it right. The distribution, the transmission, this is something he must work with them to get it right. But I'm sure that he's trying to put rather a wedge between them. Then what is the use? Leadership rally people around to resolve a crisis. And for God's sake, we are in crisis. I had other speaker. A timetable is the least we are asking for. We are not asking for consistency. We are not being so harsh. We say, give us a timetable and take time to address the issues. Is it too much? And you go and look at us in the face and say, go and provide your own. I think that the minister is overwhelmed at this moment and equally distracted. And so he must be relieved for somebody else. And like it's been said, and you've repeated it yourself, if he's not in charge, then what is he doing in there? Let's get, somebody more fitting for this position to take it up.
So you agree with the calls for him to be taking off that position, as it were. Let me ask you my last question. You take him off, then what happens? Because we are aware that there are fundamental issues within our power sector. And taking an energy minister off, as much as you may justify it, or it could be justified, seen by those who are making that argument, will not deal with the underlying issues. What happens after that?
At least somebody will know that the next person that will come inherit the seat will get to know that it's for this reason that the minister was asked to go. And he will not come and repeat the same. He will not come and put a wedge between the utilities. He will ask for their coordination and cooperation. He also asks, respectfully asks of us to rally behind them to resolve the issue, and will be humble enough to coordinate with even other sectors like the finance ministry to resolve the issue in the short term and a more sustainable manner going forward. I'm sure when there's lots of steam in one bottle, a new one is required to bring the engine up to speed.
And I must say, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for this, because you mentioned the Finance Ministry, and we're just getting information that the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission's validation report on the cash waterfall mechanism has also revealed that the Finance Ministry owes some power generators about 1.28 billion cedis. As Ghana continues to grapple with this erratic supply, our checks and analysis of the PRC's validation report from August 2023 to February 2024 show that the Finance Ministry has not complied with its top-up role under the revised cash waterfall mechanism, bringing the total arrears to approximately 1.28 billion cedis. That's how much they owe these IPP. They don't top up as expected. That's contributed to the financial problem.
That is why you cannot take them out of this discussion. You need to bring them in. So it's not just an issue, technical issue. It's more financial issue. We know very well that the new arrangement under the cash waterfall system is asking ECG to at least pay 70% of current bills. That 30% outstanding or so must be taken care of by the Finance Ministry. So we can't take them out of the discussion. That's why we're calling for a good collaboration between the two entities.
And I'm also sorry, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thanks for having me, Alfred.
And Namwesi, the 7th, is the Executive Director of the Institute for Energy Security, IES, joining us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Now, I want you to share your thoughts with us. What's happening right now where you are? Do you have electricity, or you have been experiencing doomsday? And what is your own personal timetable? At 3FM 927, go on our Facebook page and share your thoughts with us. A number of your messages coming through. If you go on our Facebook page at 3FM 927, so many messages coming through in this regard. But if you recall, you had Samuel Atacha indicating that there was going to be a timetable. This was like 3 weeks ago. We're still talking about demand for a timetable.
The conversations we've had so far, very good. Some of the technical challenges relating to fuel and the rest of it, they will be tackled. If there is under generation, which there's an admission there is one, we should do everything in our power to make sure that we generate enough power. I think the committee was very strong on the matter that if there are power outages, those who are enjoying power should know when it will be available, and then they plan their lives around the timetable you furnish them. I think they are not averse to that. It is imperative, and they are going to do it. We will do everything in our power to monitor the situation. Ministry of Finance is involved. We will make sure that what they are supposed to do, they do it. ECG is involved. We ensure that what they are supposed to do, they do it. GridCo and NetCo and the challenges. The independent power producers are involved. What should come to them so that they do what is needful?
So that's Samuel Atacha there. Now, let's move on to some other stories. And while we still keep our eyes on Dumso, because the senior presidential advisor, Beatrice has observed that the current asset declaration regime in Ghana is not transparent. Article 2861 of the 1992 Constitution makes it mandatory for public office holders to declare their assets upon appointment and exit from office. But according to the senior minister, under the current regime, the declared assets remain confidential between the Auditor General, that's a recipient, and the officers declaring their assets, and thus making it difficult for one to challenge the authenticity of the assets so declared. Dr. Yao Safumafo was speaking at a forum on open governance, partnerships, and construction sector transparency in Accra earlier today. Take a listen to him.
Under accountability, one, asset declaration, and witness protection, anti-money laundering and combating terrorism financing, health service delivery, and strengthening the effectiveness of anti-corruption institutions like Shraj is emphasized. In Ghana, when you become a minister of state at all levels, public sector at certain levels, the first thing you do is to declare your assets and file same with the Auditor General. What I personally don't like about this law is that after you've declared the assets, everything is kept confidential between the Auditor General and yourself. And therefore, it becomes very difficult for anybody to challenge the authenticity of your declaration. I think that, yes, let's declare the assets, but there should be a certain level of transparency in the declaration of the assets so that people can assess what you declared, also by certain procedures. I happens to be in the Consultative Assembly when we were drawing up the Constitution of the Republic, when we put in this phrase. And I was championing the publication of the assets. And of course, the chiefs were there in their right numbers. The chiefs were so furious with me because they said, look, do you want people to kill us when they know what we have?
So that's Yosef Manfo. He says at even the drafting of the Constitution stage, he was part of the Constitutive Assembly. He was pushing for the publication of the assets declared by public officers. Well, that didn't happen. We still have this very secretive approach to it. Adam Senano is a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Senano, appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you for having me.
I can count the number of times we've had a conversation about this asset declaration law, the impotence of this law as it currently sits. But we still have it on our books, and public officers and politicians are getting away with corruption. So beyond the talk, what has to be done to change the status quo?
I was wondering whether your reporter there didn't take the opportunity to ask the advisor to the president, so what is he going to do about it? I mean, because, yeah, that's what, senior advisor, or he no longer has that portfolio. I think he's still that.
Indeed, he is.
Absolutely. So you don't have to go too far. Nigeria already has a system where it's published openly, publicly, and any citizen can go and check. And that's the beauty of it. If you have 200,000 Nigerians, they just go online, everybody confirms and say, yeah, but I know you have this property here. So it's not effective. It's toothless the way it is now. And our senior minister, senior advisor, can just tell the president to make sure that we do a review of it and make it fit for purpose. But if they really had that as something that they were bent on doing, it would have been done by now.
It would have been done by now. In fact, you just partially answered the question. Beatrice here, you're saying that it's coming too late because, I mean, you heard him there. He said he was part of those who helped draft this very law or act we are talking about.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, if we are really bent on getting something done, the political will, to the extent that we want to ensure that everybody declares and nobody begins to play games with resources and fraudulently acquire that which should be benefiting the good people of this country. You don't just say we made an attempt in the initial, drafting, because everybody knows that no policy is static. Policy tends to be dynamic based on changing circumstances. There's opportunity for policy reform and legal reform. So a government that came on the back of anti-corruption 2015, 2016, I think that was very well within their trajectory and their remit to have taken action. And he still can. If he delivers a presentation like this and was not able to tell us that for the next 3 to 6 months, this is the action he's going to take and advise the president, I think we should send that question back to him.
I'm just wondering what you think he can do to prove that indeed he's willing to do something about it. After all, people say it's better late than never.
Yeah, I mean, senior advisor means that he has special access to the president, unlike many other ministers and personalities. And so if he chose that in the last 8 months or so of their tenure before the elections, he's going to talk to the president and they are on a certificate of urgency, going to take this to parliament, get the reform done. It is more than feasible. It's more than feasible. So I think there's opportunity for him to make good the original intentions when they were doing the first draft by ensuring that the president has his ear. Then you call the relevant sector that you want to champion this, because then it will become a reform from a particular sector and it could just be the presidency pushing for this to be done, probably through the Attorney General's unit, and then it will get done.
See, Mr. Anu, we have already the Conduct of Public Officers Bill, which sort of tends to correct some of the deficiencies in this asset declaration law as it stands now. Is it time to put pressure on government on Parliament, for that matter, to have this bill passed? Because this bill has been on the table in Parliament for quite a while. Even the IMF has added it as part of the constituencies for this $3 billion that we're asking for.
Well, it's not actually with Parliament. It's sitting with Cabinet. Parliament doesn't have it now. And the pressure we have in the past told the presidency that, why are you holding on to this? You should release it for Parliament to do the final. I mean, it moved from Parliament to the presidency. Actually, no. The presidency was the one that's tabling it under the Attorney General's unit. And we've been waiting for Cabinet to give the green light. But clearly, this is not one of the areas where the political elite and others are interested in, because we have said it over and time again that the current draft is substantially good. There are few things we'd have liked to have changed, but in this state, it should move from the presidency to Parliament.
And at this point, that's a call that many would align with. I appreciate your time, Mr. Senator. Thank you so much.
And thank you for having me.
He's a co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Now, let's get an understanding of the public office holders that are bound by this law to declare their assets, even though we don't have the opportunity to see what they are declaring. And there was this joke that I recall Daniel Demelovo, the former Auditor General, made the point that some of these persons declare their assets, and he suspects that some of them put newspaper cuttings in a brown envelope and just go and put it there, because until a case is brought before you, there's no reason to go and open your asset declaration.
Yeah, and that's what Osafumafo is calling for it to be changed. But let's bring you details of those expected to declare their assets, in case you're wondering. So it starts from the very top, which is the President of the Republic, followed by the Vice President, Speaker, the Deputy Speaker, and a Member of Parliament. So our MPs are also expected to declare the assets, Alfred. Minister of State or Deputy Minister, Chief Justice, Justice of the Superior Court of Judicature, Chairman of Regional Tribunal, the Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, and his deputies, and all judicial officers. Let's bring you some more. Ambassador or High Commissioner, Secretary to the Cabinet, Head of Ministry or Government Department or equivalent office in the civil service. It goes on to give more names or officers: Chairman, Managing Director General, Manager and Department Head of a public corporation or company in which the state has a controlling interest, and the Governor of the Bank of Ghana and his deputies as well. It's a very long list. I'll just read some more and we'll make way for business. And you also have Chairman, Electoral Commission. It means that Madam Jean Mensah is expected to also declare her assets, and her deputies: Chairman, National Commission for Civic Education, and his deputies, Head of Chancery of Ghana Embassy or the Ghana High Commission, Head of Department of Bank of Ghana. I'm sure when you go to 3fm.com, you will find the list of officers and individuals who are expected to declare their assets. And with what Osafumafo is calling for, you would have the opportunity to know the real assets of these individuals who are occupying these public offices. Alfred.
The fundamental question is, do they all declare their assets? That question we will never get an answer to until this law is revealed. And that's a question that we're living with many of you on Facebook. At 3FM927 on Facebook, also on Instagram, at 3FM927, on 3FM927 on X, as well as on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale, and also on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're going for business after this quick break, and Bismarck, she is seated here, we'll have a conversation right after this. Stay with us.
They are coming from all over the country and even beyond. They are coming to take their place at the table of champions. It's not just a race, it is a movement. 3FM presents Tour to Ghana 2024, the ultimate cycling event, a tour of sheer endurance, grit, power, and perseverance. So seasoned riders, professionals, and leisure riders, mark your calendars for May 18, 2024. 3FM Tour to Ghana is back with a thrill. This year, start point is at the Media General Premises Kanda to the Scenic and Price Hotel in the Eastern Region. Join us in the fight against climate change, one pedal at a time. To confirm participation, register at a fee of 150 Ghana cedis for single riders and 100 Ghana cedis for each rider in a group of 10. Cyclists stand the chance of winning prizes worth 100,000 Ghana cedis. Your registration comes with personal accident cover, feeding and transportation. So grab your helmet, saddle up, and join us on the 18th of May for the 3FM Tour to Ghana Sustainable Ride for Climate Change. For more details, contact 0532 200 927 or 0531 100 927. Let's pedal together for a greener and brighter future. 3FM Tour to Ghana. Be part of the thrilling adventure for change. Technical partners, Ghana Cycling Federation, and proudly supported by DHL.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. Coming up, businesses record significant production losses following intermittent power outages. We'll hear from Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
And some of the products in the process of production, the lights should go off. You lose all the raw materials, and it's a cost to businesses. So we've had cause to complain.
Let's settle now for the details. Businesses are beginning to record significant production losses as a result of the ongoing intermittent power supply in the country. The Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry has expressed deep frustration and disappointment at the ongoing power crisis in the country, which they say is wreaking havoc on businesses. Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Mark Beduabwachi, spoke to 3 Business.
Anytime that we have challenges with energy, it affects basically all the things that we are doing. And I think for the past 3 months, we've seen this erratic and power outages affecting business. We have our members complaining about the impact of these outages on their businesses. In fact, some of them have also reported of breakdown of machines. And some of the products in the process of production, the lights should go off. You lose all the raw materials, and it's a cost to businesses. So we've had cause to complain. We have asked, just as other individuals and institutions have asked for a timetable. It's not for nothing, but for businesses to plan. If you know that power will go off in an hour in the next 2 days, definitely you find an alternative source of power to be sure that your production is ongoing. But when there's no announcement, when you don't have any timetable, and all of a sudden in the course of production the light goes off, you lose a lot of things. So it's a big problem for us. If it's for a short period, even if it's for a day, in other jurisdictions, if the light will go off for a day, it's well communicated.
And that was Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Beduabwachi. Moving on, the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry says it looks forward to a favorable exchange rate before the end of the year. According to Chief Executive of the Chamber, Emmanuel Cherry, the persistent depreciation of the cedi is having a negative impact on the construction industry. His comment comes on the back of projections by ratings agency Fitch that the cedi will end the year at 12 cedis 25 pesos to the dollar.
From the side of Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry, we just want to be hopeful that it comes to pass, or possibly a bit lower than even what their projections is. I don't know what exactly the measures are, or what factors are they putting in place. Their indicators to this all need to be at least subjected to litmus tests. So therefore, it's early days for us to, but if what they are saying, that the dollar to the cedi will be a bit stabilized or possibly a bit lower than what you are witnessing, there is a plus to the business community, because if it happens this way, at least if you are doing business, you know how to forecast. But as it is now, you can't predict what exactly is happening in the forex market. And if that happens, which means at times you're going thinking that I'm bringing this particular goods or this item, or I'm taking this particular contract at this particular rate. Surprisingly, you get there, and then the market dictates differently. So at the end of the day, your projections become something else. So if Fitch is telling us that this is what is going to happen before at the close of the year, it's a kudos to that effect, but largely depends on government policies. What policies are they putting in place? If policies are there gearing to the stabilization of this, then it's plus.
Emmanuel Cherry is Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Construction Industry. Now, Deputy Managing Director of Fidelity Bank Ghana, Atta Ibuajan, has underscored the need for government to focus on sectors that bring real value to the economy and not only diversify into non-traditional investment options. His comments comes on the back of the recent domestic debt exchange program, which affected the investment of many who considered government instruments as risk-free. He was speaking on the sidelines of this year's edition of Money Summit on the theme Investing for the Future, Rethinking Investment and Savings to Drive Sustainable Economic Growth.
We all chased one type of investment. We either bought bonds or treasury bills. But the reality is that we also have alternative investments. Alternative investments like real estate, venture capital, and equity investments, where you identify a potential business partner, and that can be a small business that is starting up, and it could be an informal sector, SME, micro business, or a fintech, and invest directly in that startup. When you do that in financial terms, you are an equity investor. But as I said, normally we see equity investment as a company that has listed on the stock exchange and I'm going to buy the stock of that company. But the reality is that next door to our neighbor is a business opportunity where we can invest in. And so we wanted to draw attention to the fact that we have to rethink the traditional instruments we see as investment instruments and look at alternatives that will have real impact on the sustainable and more enduring development of our nation.
And that was Deputy Managing Director of Fidelity Bank Ghana, Atta Ibuajan, ending the business segment on Hot Edition with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Sports is up next.
Thank you, Bismarck. It's time for Sport here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bilish, and let's get right to it. From the local scene, where a flurry of appointments were made by the Ghana Football Association for the men's national teams. After Larry Kingston was named head coach of the Black Starlets last week, Yao Prekon has been named the under-15 head coach, with assistant being Awudu Isaka. Nations FC's coach Kasim Mingo will lead the under-16 team with Stephen Treme as his assistant, and Nuruddin Amadou has also been named the under-18s coach, with his assistant being Hamza Mohamed Obeng. Karim Zito will head the under-19s, with his assistant being former Kotoko striker Eric Bekwe, and Maxwell Konedu will also lead the under-20 side, under-23 side, that is the Black Meteors, and his assistant is former Kotoko coach Abdul Ghazali. Now, Director of Coaching at the GFA, Desmond Ofair, explains where many youth national teams have been created to augment the Black Stars. He explains why this has happened, because there's under-15s straight to the under-23 sides of the national team.
Right pathway without where there's a year in between, where there's nothing happening to a player that played under 17. They have to wait 1 year or 2 years before they get opportunity to play with under 20s. Now, with this current squad, we have an individual program and plan for each and every player. So we know all their qualities. We know also what is in the A national team. So as we scouted these boys, it was done through our DNA, national DNA. Yeah. So it meant that, okay, this is what the type of players that Ghana needs in the A national team, and this is what the players were scouted, or that was scouted was based on these profiles. So what does that mean is if they develop well, automatically they have an opportunity to play in the A national team. Mm-hmm. Luckily, we've got a fantastic new coach in the likes of Mr. Otoado, who loves to work with young players, and this is a great opportunity for our boys to keep working hard, and when the time comes, when the call comes, they'll be ready to help the A national team.
When the call comes, they'll be ready to help the national team, according to Desmond Ofair. He's also the national under-20 coach, that's the Black Satellites. Dreams FC have declared that entry to the popular and centre line stands of the Babayara Stadium will be free of charge for their crucial CAF Confederation Cup semi-final match against Zamalek. That is on Sunday, April 28, 2024. This move comes after the club's management accepted a recommendation to provide complimentary access to these areas of the stadium. Supporters can still purchase tickets from the VIP and VVIP stands at prices of 20 Ghana cedis and 50 Ghana cedis respectively to ensure compliance with security and safety measures. Moving on to European football, the big game tonight is between Arsenal and Chelsea at the Emirates Stadium. Arsenal are seeking a win to keep their Premier League title hopes alive, and head coach Mikel Arteta has been saying this ahead of the game.
I was 17, 18 years old in Paris. I was thrown in Paris 1st of January, I think, with no experience in professional football. And he doesn't like it, but for me, it was like a father. He really took me under his arm, gave me incredible advice. He really protected me, he inspired me. And I learned so much in those 2 years with him together. And from there, obviously, we maintained the relationship. And I knew he was going to be a coach. I admire him a lot for what he's done in his career. And he's always someone that I look.
That was Mikel Arteta on Mauricio Pochettino during their playing days at Paris Saint-Germain. Now, Mauricio Pochettino was also speaking ahead of the game against Arsenal.
Today, no. Today, I don't believe that can be involved, but we need to assess him tomorrow and then we will decide. But even if he will be good tomorrow, maybe he's not in a condition to play. I hope he's recovered from this situation and as soon as possible can be involved again. With and without, always we believe that we can win. The most important is the team, the most important is the collective. Of course, he's an important part of the team, doing fantastic for us, but I think that is Chelsea and of course, plenty of players that can perform and to do the job also.
Now to our final story, Aston Villa boss Unai Emery has extended his contract with the club until 2027. Villa were 16th in the Premier League and fighting relegation when the Spaniard took over from Steven Gerrard in November 2022. In a remarkable turnaround, Emery, now 52, guided Villa to a 7th place finish to qualify to the Europa Conference League, the club's first participation in European football since the 2010-2011 season. This season, they sit 4th in the Premier League with Champions League qualification in their sights. They are 6 points clear of Tottenham, who now have 2 games in hand. That brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Beatrice, and of course the Hot Edition continues.
This is your election command center, the campaign trail, and we're getting into it right now here on your election command center. It's following every step of the way and building up to election 2024, December 7, across all media journal platforms. What do we have on campaign trail today?
Let's go to the northern part of the country because scores of NPP supporters in the Yendi constituency are threatening to vote against the party and its parliamentary candidate Farouk Aliu Mahama for failing to rerun the January 27 parliamentary primary. The supporters say that the decision by the National Executive Committee is dangerous and not in the interest of the party. The parliamentary primary in the Yendi constituency was marred by violence between supporters of Aliu Mahama and Hajia Abibata, leading to an abrupt end of the polls. Now, the National Executive Committee of the NPP subsequently affirmed Aliu Mahama as the parliamentary candidate-elect, contrary to the advice by the Electoral Commission that the polls be rerun. Now, Hajia Abibata's supporters are disgruntled and say they will advise themselves accordingly. Listen.
There should be a rerun of the elections. 4, as supporters of Hajia Abibata and true loyalists of the great NPP, we petitioned the NEC. We held several press conferences to highlight the need for the party to intervene to resolve the impasse. In accordance with the letter and spirit of our party constitution and the democratic tenets established by our tradition. Several groups, including the NPP youth in Yendi and the concerned NPP members in Yendi, petitioned and held press conferences to seek a just determination of the issues in the supreme interest of the party. All these efforts fell on deaf ears. 5, the National Executive Committee of the New Patriotic Party has shown a bad faith in this situation and has taken an uncompromising position not to listen to anybody.
Well, there you have it. I mean, these are the supporters of the Hajia Abibata. Now, but let's have a conversation on this matter, because it appears that there's a lot happening in that END constituency. Abdul Rahman Shamsuddin is the spokesperson for Hajia Abibata. He's joining us on the telephone. Appreciate your time. Good evening to you.
Yeah, good evening, Alfred.
Thank you for connecting with us here on Campaign Trail on our Election Command Center. Your candidate, is she aware of this threat that has been issued by persons who have identified themselves as her supporters, and the fact that if this election is not rerun, they would vote against the NPP? Is she aware of this?
First of all, I want to say good evening to all your cherished listeners, and thank you for having me this evening. Yeah, I think, like you did indicate, I speak for the campaign of Hajia Abibata Shani Mahama for the 2024 parliamentary primaries. Of course, when NEC took their decision on 9th April 2024, Hajia Abibata Shani Mahama put a statement out there. And in that statement, she did indicate that she disagrees with the decision taken by the National Executive Committee of the New Patriotic Party. But in same vein, you know, she respects the decision taken by the party, and that she will come out and support the party and also call on her supporters to campaign for the presidential candidate and the parliamentary candidate of the New Patriotic Party. Yeah, I think what happened yesterday, these are supporters of Hajia Abibata Shani Mahama who feel that they are not happy with the decision that was taken by NEC. And so therefore, they came out to issue the statement they issued yesterday. So I think Hajia Abibata Shani Mahama also saw the statement as everyone, as others have also seen it.
I see. So I was asking that beyond seeing it, what's her position on it? Because as you indicated, she has stated earlier, after the decision by the National Executive Committee, that yes, she has issues with that decision, but she agrees with, or she would go by it, even though she does not wholly accept it. She's going to go by it and support the candidate. So now that the members or her supporters are saying, look, if you don't push for a rerun, we're going to vote for against the NPP. What's her position on this matter?
I think she will have to find a way of talking to the supporters to calm them down, to see how best she can convince them to vote for the party in the 2024 general election.
But they were bent and very clear in their minds of what they want, a rerun and nothing else.
Alfred, you realize that these are supporters who saw light in the vision of Hajia Abibata Shani Mahama. But as it stands, you know, it is difficult talking to these young men and women. They feel very, very disappointed in the decision that was taken by the National Executive Committee. You realize that in the run-up to the whole issue, even when NEC sat, Hajia Abibata Shani Mahama just saw the statement of NEC on social media just as any other person. NEC, when she petitioned and some other groups in Yendi petitioned, no one was called to listen to that side of the story. So NEC took their decision. Fine. Ajia, she disagrees with the decision, but equally respects the decision of the party because she is a patriot. And as a patriot, you have to respect decisions that are taken by your leaders.
Equally,
so like I did indicate. Hello?
Please go ahead, sir. This Beatrice.
Yeah, so like I did indicate, yes, Ajia Tashani Mahama will put in her efforts, her best, to talk to the supporters to see how best is going to talk them back to support the party. But for now, I think this is what I just have to say for now.
So my understanding of what you're saying is that she doesn't necessarily support the idea of voting skirt and blouse because they are unhappy that...
Not in the list, not in the list. She's a patriot, and in her statement on the 9th of April, she did indicate, yes, I'm not happy with the decision, but I respect the decision of the party.
To what extent is she willing to go to ensure that the supporters rescind their decision? Because at the end of the day, you're talking about victory for the MPP and not necessarily about her.
We are not happy with the decision of
So
NEC.
like I mentioned, she'll put in her best
We therefore
to talk them down. She'll put in her best. And as to speak, you know, she's there's Maslock of CEO. She's in Accra, attending to official duty. So I'm sure she'll find a way of coming down to talk to the supporters.
All right, we'll have to end it here. Thank you very much. And
but can I just add a quick one?
Go ahead.
Yes, so I think in as much as we want to break the eight as a party, it is important that when issues come, the leadership of the party look at it from a dispassionate point of view. Yes, it is the right of the party to choose a parliamentary candidate for a constituency. The Electoral Commission was tasked to conduct the Yendi parliamentary primaries. The EC recommended that the election should be rerun, and even went ahead to interdict 5 of its officers. Yes, the National Executive Committee took a decision. We respect their decision, but it is an unpopular decision. Very, very unpopular decision. But like I did indicate, Ajia Tashani Mahama will put in her best to talk down the supporters to see how best they can support the party in the 2024 election.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much. That was Abdul Rahman Shamsuddin. He is spokesperson for Hajia Abibata, the lady who was who didn't win the Yendi parliamentary primary, and of course the supporters are calling for a rerun because of some electoral challenges. Now let's move to the camp of the NDC, because the Communications Bureau of the opposition party says that the ruling New Patriotic Party was not being fruitful in displaying certain projects it claimed to have completed in their Santiachim Central constituency. Addressing the media on Tuesday, Kofi Sulemana, a member of the Bureau and Communications Officer for the Santiachim Central constituency, cited the completion of a cassava factory and an IT center as some of the unrealized projects mentioned in the tracker.
The less said about the projects, the better. In the just released performance tracker, the MPP claimed that they have finished 25 projects in Asante Achim Central for the past 7.5 years. But this is a bare-faced lie and a calculated attempt to deceive Ghanaians and Asante Achim Central in general for votes. Ladies and gentlemen, the underlisted are the so-called projects that the MPP claimed to have implemented in Asante Achim Central as captured in their performance tracker. 1. They said they have provided ICT equipment at Konongo Post Office. Our checks indicate that the Konongo Post Office has only 2 computers. Hence, those equipment that they claim they have in that post office is a lie. 2, they claim that they have built cassava processing factory at Ashayim. As you can see on our banner, this banner was captured. We used drone to capture the Ashayim Township. And there is no factory that is located at Ashayim. Hence, the MPP has told a big fat lie, and there's a need for us to expose them. Thirdly, and this is the most serious, They said they have constructed 60-bed capacity hospital at Konongo. This is also a bare-faced lie. They said they started it on 2017 and completed it in 2022.
And you're still live here on your Election Command Center campaign trail. You had some supporters of the NDC addressing the press conference there about some projects captured on the performance tracker in the Asante Achim Central constituency, which they say does not reflect the reality of the situation on the ground. Let's go back to earlier story where scores of MPP supporters in the Yendi constituency of the Northern region are threatening to vote against the party and its parliamentary candidate Farouk Aliu Mahama for failing to rerun the 27 January parliamentary primary. According to the supporters, this decision by the National Executive Committee is dangerous and not in the interest of the party. Now, Dr. Jonathan Asante is a senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, a political analyst, is joining us on the telephone. Dr. Asante, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Good evening, Alfred, and good evening to your listeners.
Great. I recall that when this decision was announced by the NEC, we had a conversation. You did indicate that even though the candidate in question, that's Hajia Abibata, had accepted the ruling of the National Executive Committee of the MPP, it was going to be difficult to trickle it down to the supporters. Yes, this is what is happening right now. Her supporters are saying, you know what, we're not accepting this. We want a rerun of this election or this primaries. How do you see things playing out?
Okay, thank you once again. Let me say good evening to you, yourself, and your listeners. You see, it is a truism that when you arm twist someone and you don't get the buy-in of that person's following, you're going to find yourself in some kind of problem and difficulties. And since this is a matter of politics, interest, are the highest of the stakes, in the sense that we have all, expended resources to get to the ultimate. And then the untoward happens. And instead of us conducting the elections once again, the powers that be decide that, this is the person that we feel should go. So once that happens and you do not get a buy-in of the followers of the other person, you're going to find some difficulties. And since we are talking about a situation where we have divided interest, these things are bound to happen. And I'm not surprised that it is rearing its ugly head in the constituency.
You're not surprised, Doc. Beatrice here. We spoke to the spokesperson for Hajia Abibata, Abdul Rahman, and he's saying that the woman is a patriot. She's going to do what she can to ensure that the supporters rescind their decision. From what you said, how do you think she can approach this?
Well, provided the support base do not have in mind, you see, do not get the impression that some kind of resources have exchanged or have changed hands. Now, I can doff my heart out for the woman in the sense that there's a thin line between pursuing this matter and then virtually creating a problem for your future ambition in terms of the politics within the same party. And so obviously she will not show her face, but those who have similar interests aligned to hers, will definitely come up. And how they'll be able to do that is a difficult thing altogether. The other thing that the one particular means by which they can do that is to get the lady herself, secure a meeting with these, people, and then talk to them and see how they will buy into that. But they don't have to get a gist that, some kind of monetary, consideration has taken place and there is this kind of exchange of resources and other things. The other thing too is that the late Vice President's son can sit down with a woman, negotiate and say that, okay, after this term, I'm not going to go again. So let your support base understand that I will support you in the next elections in terms of parliamentary, and I will not contest. I think that one means by which you can get the buy-in of the support base of the woman. And I think that they could explore other, options as well. But as it stands now, those people, you see, they believe in some kind of justice, and they virtually have one ear. If it is yes, it is yes. If it is no, it is no. So, and Yendi, don't forget the kind of conflict that is it has, engulfed itself over the period. And so if you're not careful and that simmering tension persists, then the later Liu San is going to have a difficulty winning that particular seat.
Thank you very much, political analyst Dr. Jonathan Asante-Okyere. Thank you for sharing your expertise with us on Hot Edition.
Remain your election command center. Campaign trail ahead of election 2024. Stay with us as we build up strongly. Election 2024 here on your election command center, where from the President Akrofi has directed boards and heads of state entities to ensure strict compliance with submission requirements set out by the State Interest and Governance Authority on state reporting. The caution follows delays by some heads of state-owned enterprises. President Akrofi, speaking at the 2024 Annual Policy and Governance Forum in Accra, indicated timely compliance will help prevent delayed reporting, which could negatively affect the terms of the country's financial arrangement with the World Bank.
It is heartwarming to observe that by 2021, specified entities have significantly increased their total revenue to 121.8 billion cedis, compared to some 34.8 billion cedis in 2016. By 2021, the number of specified entities that prepared accounts stood at 147, up from the 18 recorded in 2016. Also, entities signing performance contracts with SIGA rose from 6 in 2016 to 73 in 2023. This underscores how transparent and accountable government has been so far as governance and management of our public enterprises are concerned. There is no better way to check corruption than making sure that our public enterprises are governed in a responsible and open manner.
On his part, the Director General of SIGA, John Boydu, pledged to work with other ministries to ensure the successful implementation of the Code of Corporate Governance.
These inform us about the key documents we are launching today, the implementation of which we expect to strengthen the performance of our state entities. The documents are the Code of Corporate Governance for specified entities and public service organizations in Ghana, developed by SIGA and PSC with the support of Minister for Private Enterprise, Minister for Finance or Ministry of Finance, and other partners. The state-owned policy was put together by Ministry of Finance in partnership with SIGA with the support of the Private Enterprise Secretariat.
As John Boydu, there is the Director General of the State Interest Governance Authority.
And that's how we end Hot Edition here on your Election Command Center. Before we go around through our top stories, government reels under intense pressure to address worsening power crisis amid calls for the removal of the Energy Minister, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. We brought you some analysis and also that commentary from Senior Presidential Advisor Yaw Osafo-Maafo, rekindling debate on the opaque nature of Ghana's asset declaration regime and urging a review to make it transparent.
We have loads of your messages coming through, and this one from Ali Awudu says, this NPP government does not take responsibility of your failures. Some says, same as they blame the failure of the economy on COVID, and after blaming the Russia-Ukraine war. Vincent says, we call the unseen hands men in grey suit. You know who the men in grey suit are?
Tell me.
That's what Rashid Purple was saying.
Oh,
Really. So
okay.
if you know any man in grey suit, you know exactly who he's talking about.
Oh, but he didn't say they were men, did he?
Well, never know. James Premper says, government doesn't have money to buy fuel. Simple. The truth and the hard truth must be told. You have more?
There's Haji Salam. Ya Allah, forgive our late parents. Oh, okay. I don't know which story he's commenting on. And there's Lying Old Men. Well, let's see.
Old Men.
Lying Old Men. I don't know which story. Somebody just put in a smiley that is showing that he's angry. So, yeah.
Sad one. And many people who are also expressing same. I want to say thank you. Join me at 10 p.m. on TV3 for Ghana Tonight. I am Alfred Ocansey.
My name is Beatrice. Thank you so much for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of our programs.